Jesus is always calling us to come, yet we keep telling him, but look how windy the wind is. Look how choppy the water is. Those waves are mighty high. Welcome or welcome back, as the case may be, to the channel. So please forgive me. Clearly, life is lifing at the moment, and it has me struggling to meet my commitment of weekly uploads. But I am striving to do better. I'm striving to organize myself better. So please continue to bear with me as I find my feet and train them to comply. Please go ahead and subscribe, and then remember to like and share this word with others if you feel blessed and led to. So, the well-known story or account of Jesus walking on the water has really been resonating with me in such a deep way these past few weeks. And I believe it's due to the season I'm currently in, where I find myself struggling with doubt and even fear. Call it human nature, call it overwhelm, call it warfare, whichever and whatever. All I know is it's been rough. The story, which is found in Matthew 14, specifically from verse 22 to 33, tells of when Jesus appears to the disciples by walking on water, and Peter gets down from the boat to walk on water towards Jesus. Well, until he's not. There's so much to unpack in this story of the impact of faith and its lack thereof. The scene itself is set in verse 22 to 24, which is after the feeding of the 5,000 with the 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And Jesus has just sent everyone away. So he sent the crowds on their way to wherever they were going, and the disciples via boat onto their next destination. He then goes to the mountain to pray, and by the time he's done, the boat with the disciples on it was in the middle of the sea, battling the most stormy conditions. Verses 26 and 27 is where the disciples see Jesus walking on the sea. They were scared, they were carrying on, thinking he was a ghost. And Jesus, as always, assures them that it is indeed him and that they shouldn't be afraid. Now, verse 28 onwards is where the meat of the story takes place. So Peter asks Jesus to permit him to join Jesus on the water. And Jesus is like, sure, come. And Peter proceeds to leave the boat and starts to walk on the water towards Jesus. Now, let's pause right there, because oftentimes when we think of this tale or we're told of this tale, the focus usually skips straight over this part and lands on the very moment that Peter starts to sink. But we can't sleep on the fact that at this point, Peter was already demonstrating an immense faith that was already on another level. Peter was bold. He was the only disciple who had the nerve to even want to walk on the sea, let alone follow through and do it. Something so inconceivable, if not for Jesus showing and demonstrating that it was in fact possible. I'd say he essentially challenged Jesus that, okay, since it's you and you're doing it, allow me to come and join you and do it as well. You know, if that's not bold, I don't know what is. Peter was courageous. He actually did it. He was obedient and he sees the opportunity to take action on his desire, refusing to leave it to die as a dream. So that took guts, and it appears he doesn't think twice in just stepping out of the boat into the midst of rough seas and winds. But that is because Peter was focused. He was focused on Christ. The text says he walked. That means there was a period of time, even though it might have been short, even though it may have been brief, where he was actually achieving what he had desired to do and set out to do. Why? Well, because his entire focus was on Jesus and not on anything else. He wasn't looking at his peers, who, by the way, must have been looking at Peter like he had lost his mind. Because one, they're probably still debating whether or not this is even Jesus, and or a ghost still. And two, the raging waters and winds were bad enough of an experience for them while still in the boat. Like, why then would you want to walk on it? But Peter wasn't looking at any of that. He wasn't looking at his circumstances. He wasn't considering the impossibilities of what he was already doing. His focus was solely on him until they weren't, and he begins to sink. In verse 30, we see that he starts to sink because he shifted his focus from Christ, the source of his strength and power, which of course would overwhelm him because his fear has now redirected his attention to the strength and power of the conditions that are around him. The strength and power of Christ will always uplift us because he is the ultimate and sovereign power that is above all other powers. And I think that with this tale, we are being reminded that it's never a one and done thing where it comes to our faith walks with Christ. It's ongoing and it's never ending. It's in each and every step we take, even and especially on those roads that are leading us closer to him. It's not like Peter was gallivanting out in arenas he had no place being. Well, not in this instance anyway. He was walking towards Jesus based on a word he received from him, which was come. It took immense faith to get Peter to where he was on the water, but the problem arose when the reality of what he was doing hit him, that logical, rational part of him. And I think, I believe that this is our reality, especially the more that we're seeking after the kingdom and the things of God. The stronger in Christ we become is the more bold and courageous steps that we begin to take, empowered by his word and revelations that are giving us directions. Like when he told Peter to come, Peter didn't think twice. He went straight for it. But this is also when the storms of life get real stormy. Like riding a roller coaster in a tornado, kind of stormy. But the realities and conditions of life are just that. Be them naysayers or doubters, or even our own fears and doubts. They distract our attention and focus from the one who told you it was possible. That's revelation. Showed you it was possible. That's vision. And made it possible. That's manifestation. He made it possible in the first place. And so we start to sink in worries, in strife, in depression, in anxiety, in visualizing and ruminating over worst case scenarios. And that's the plan of the enemy, is to drown us in things that are distracting us from the will and the presence of God's power. Let me know in the comments that I'm not alone. Is this something you struggle with? That battle of faith over logic, over rationale, over seeing the very opposite of the word or the promise that you were given? Well, let me tell you for free, I definitely do. That rational and logical thinking parts of us are flesh-based, and so they're bound to contest and challenge the work and strength of our faith and things of the spirit, especially because faith is sight and knowledge of something that is yet to exist. So it's an ongoing mission to ensure that faith wins each and every time until that thing is manifested, and even and especially beyond manifestation, so that it can remain safe and secure above water. Verses 30 to 31 reminds us of his amazing grace, that whenever our faith fails, and it will because we're human and we're imperfect, we need only to call upon Jesus to help us, to save us, and he will lift us up immediately. Jesus is always calling us to come, to strengthen and grow our faith. Yet we keep telling him, but look how windy the wind is. Or look how choppy the water is. Or those waves are mighty high. Now, please catch this, because the story concludes in a way that encapsulates the raw omnipotency of his power. The wind ceased when they got into the boat. This demonstrates that the conditions, the high winds, the choppy waters, were never a challenge for him. He was always in control, meaning that the wind and the waters were never going to win. That storm you're facing is destined to lose because Jesus is in it with you. So we need only to focus our attention on him as we conquer our fears and allow him to do the impossible in us. I hope this has blessed you. Please share with one and bless another, and let's together build a community that is rooted in resilience, in hope, and unwavering belief in the power of God. Let's uncover the power of steadfast faith as we break through and overcome. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, be blessed and go good. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share with your